Hi, it's Tim Francis from Profit Factory, Forbes contributor. Today I have the distinct honor of being here in New York City with the one and only Dr. Joshua Spodek. He is both a professor and a leadership coach at Columbia and NYU, and the author of this book, Leadership Step by Step. Thanks so much for being here today.
Glad to be here.
In your book, you talk a lot about how authority, which is very much an older style command and control, militaristic approach to leadership, is not only it's not only ineffective, but also counterproductive. That leaders who rely on that authority of "you're going to do it because I said so" are not only going to miss their mark, but they're actually going to be stepping backwards and losing influence over those that they lead. Can you speak about that?
Yeah, a lot of us, our main view of leadership is through movies and television, and it makes for great drama. Like Tommy Lee Jones comes in, he says, the criminal is on the loose, you go out and set a perimeter, you go out and talk to all those people, you go out and do this, you go out and do that, and they all go off and do it. And you think, I'm going to do that. That's when I'm a leader, I'll tell people what to do. If you are actually in a very tight situation, you start telling people what to do. If you've ever been told what to do, you probably feel like, I'm not going to do that. Like, who are you to tell me what to do? A scene like that can play out, but if it does happen, if there's a crisis situation, you really need, you do this, you do this, you do this, it's usually built on, what they don't show is years or a long time of people getting to know each other very effectively. What tends to happen if you're in a difficult situation and someone tells you what to do, you often feel like not understood. You feel like you want to send your resume out to someplace else. On the flip side, if you're on a high-performing team, if people are watching this, they are developing themselves to be better leaders, to be more effective. And that means that all the people around them are also people who work hard to get where they are. They sacrificed, they worked hard. That means that they have internal motivation that got them there. Something's really driving them. That motivation that they have is going to be stronger than anything that you can layer on top of that. In fact, if you care about something and that's why you're doing it, and I tell you do it for my reasons that are different than yours, I'm implicitly saying that I value my stuff more than your stuff and devaluing your stuff. People don't like feeling devalued. That's why it makes you step backward. Now, you mentioned militaristic. That's also a cliche. I work with a lot of military people, and even there, before walking into a difficult situation where I have to order you to do something, there's a lot of getting to know each other before that. There are places for it in a crisis situation, but you still want to build that on empathy, on getting to know someone. I mean, this is what I teach is how do you behave and communicate in a way that someone feels comfortable sharing what their motivations are. And those are generally things that they protect. They're generally things that, we've all been hurt, we've been made fun of, we've been manipulated, and those things happen when someone knows what you care about. If they don't know what you care about, they can't really do that so much. So when I share what I really care about, it opens me up to be manipulated or hurt. The big challenge of a leader, what I teach, what I needed the most myself and what I've been able to develop in my clients is to make people feel comfortable sharing those vulnerabilities, those motivations. When you connect those things to the task, you imbue those tasks with meaning. They really want to do those things.
I love this idea of instead of leading through authority, but to lead through meaning. I love that idea intellectually. Can you give me an exercise or two or something that I'd be able to use with those that I lead?
Yeah, one of the big exercises that I do when I do coaching is meaningful connection. So meaningful connection it's to get you to do the very low level things that get you practicing what gets people feeling a meaningful connection. So I give people a script. The script is, I'll go over it very briefly here, but it's to ask someone what their passion is, or if you don't like talking about passion, what's something that someone puts time into, something that they work hard at. And I usually say besides work and family, not that people don't care about those things, but you tend to get kind of cocktail party conversation there. They'll give you an answer. So it's typically travel or food or things like that. And again, they're not going to share very much. The next thing I say to do, and in the book, in the courses, I say specifically word for word what to say. And it's not that I want you copying my words, but the first couple times that you do it, it's like playing a scale in music. First, when you play a scale, do this, press this key, then this key, then this key. It sounds mechanical, but through practice, it becomes personal, it becomes expressive. So they say travel. The next thing is to say, oh, that's interesting. I know, and you have to think on the fly of two people. It could be yourself. Like I know someone who loves to travel, and give the reason why. So I might say, if you said you like to travel, I might say, oh, I like to travel. I travel because I like to see the world and understand different cultures. And I have this friend, so you'd say someone else, and what's their reason for traveling? Now, what happens when I say two people in my life that I support, that I care about, what I've communicated to you, there's the content of these two people, but I've communicated that people that care about what you care about are in my life, and I support them. And that opens things up. I say, one person, their reason, the other person, their reason. What's your reason? The other person always responds with a lot more depth. Oh, I traveled because of this and this and this, and it starts going into a lot more, and it starts being meaningful. Now, I listen to you, and I listen almost invariably in what you say. There's going to be 2 or 3 words that you say, like when I travel, it's like a symphony that of the world, of different cultures. So the word symphony, usually you'll open your eyes or you'll lean forward, or it's a word that just doesn't fit. Those words carry the meaning of what the person's saying. So I have to listen very carefully to what you say, and then I simply go back and I clarify what you said using those words. So I might say, that's interesting, it's a symphony. When you hear that, now people listening to this, they don't hear the word symphony and think much of it, but when you used it, you chose that word and you put the meaning in it. The words that we say can't convey the emotions and the thoughts in our minds and our hearts because it's too much. So we put that meaning into individual words. And when I say that word back to you, I get all the meaning that you put in, even if I don't know it. And then the person really starts talking for a long time. So, for example, I met Frances Hesselbein so she's the Presidential Medal of Freedom honoree. She's the mentor of my mentor, Marshall Goldsmith. I'm at a book launch for Marshall Goldsmith. She was there. She invites me for coffee. Before I went to meet her, I was thinking, what do I say? What do I talk to someone about who is the CEO of the Girl Scouts? She was the Presidential Medal of Freedom honoree. I didn't know what to think. I was like, what do I say? And then I thought, wait a minute, I have a meaningful connection. So when I meet her, I go to her office, and we sit down, and she sits me down on the couch. She sits right next to me, and she looks me right in the eye, and she says, so what would you like to talk about? Now, it sounds like a polite question, but she invited me, and now she's saying, one of the great leaders of the world, Peter Drucker called her the best leader in America. She says to me, basically, you lead. So I went right into meaningful connection. We just started talking, and what was originally scheduled as a half-hour coffee ended up being a 3-hour conversation. She took me to lunch. And at the end, she said, I don't remember a more delightful conversation. Now that's great. On top of that, she put me in touch with the managing editor of her Leader to Leader journal. And so this summer, I have an article coming out in that journal. She invited me to go to West Point with her, and she put me in touch with the person who led the program. Well, she taught a class in leadership at West Point. So it wasn't just a meaningful conversation and connection, but it led to business as well.
So it sounds like meaningful connection, perhaps at one level, would allow us to be incredible networkers and be the star of any room per se that we walk into. Talk to me a little bit about how you would take it to the level of leading a team. Rather than walking to a room of strangers, what if it's walking to a room of our teammates, and how meaningful connection plays out in those scenarios?
The word that I use when you make these connections, it's not a common word that you use in business, but it's intimacy. When you make someone comfortable sharing their vulnerabilities, that's being intimate. Now, it's not intimate like an intimate relationship outside of business, but another way of putting it is, I got your back. I know why you're motivated. I know what you're doing. I know what you're vulnerable for. Teams where you know why people are motivated, you know when people are going to do what they're going to do, they got your back. You can rely on them. You don't have to wonder what's going to happen. And it's when you, as a leader, go around to everyone on your team and do meaningful connection. You do the next exercises with them. You know what's motivating them. You don't have to worry about if they're going to go sideways on you. In fact, if I start working with someone, I start depending on them, I will always do these exercises with them because I don't want them, if I think they're doing it for this reason and they're actually doing it for a slightly different reason, 90% of the time I know what they're going to do, and every now and then they're going to do something that I think is crazy. So that's why I want to know what they're doing. And that intimacy and teamwork, you just work so much more effectively. I mean, think of a sports team where you know exactly where the player is going to cut. You can pass the ball before they cut, and they're going to turn around and it's going to be right there. You want that happening in business. Besides being more effective, it's just more fun. I mean, people come back to me, and every relationship they have is affected by this. What you're really learning is empathy, compassion. These are skills that you can learn, just like riding a bike. A lot of people think of them as like these ethereal things that either you have or you don't. This book gives you the ability to practice and develop skills that the more you practice, the better you get at it. And I've never heard a leader say, it's not useful to have empathy, it's not useful to have self-awareness, but these are skills that you can learn.
I really appreciate you taking the time to share your talents and to share your thoughts, both in this interview and in this book. If you're curious in picking up Dr. Spodek's book, this is it once again, Leadership Step by Step. Available, I'm assuming, on Amazon?
Amazon, Barnes & Noble, everywhere, yeah.
Okay, good. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you.